Mr. Special Guest, would you like to introduce yourself to the listener?
Yo, it's CORES is my name.
CORES is in
How
the
you doing?
building.
Thank you for having me, man.
Thanks for coming back.
Yeah.
Second time here on Top.
Yeah.
For those who didn't catch you the first time, who is CORES? Quick rundown.
Well, CORES is a producer and a rapper from East London who has been in the game for a long time, producing big records. And
Name some.
Name some names.
Name some.
Okay, so I was the executive producer of all of Professor Green's albums. I had a hand in the Solange album. I did some bits on there. I've done loads of stuff with JP Cooper. I've done loads of stuff with Gorgon City. Even done something with Robbie Williams ages ago. Remember that conversation that we had? But yeah, I've done a lot. I've been involved as a kind of like behind the scenes guy in a lot of big stuff. But I've always made my own music, and it's just been a long time coming.
Yeah. So you're here now. As I said, you've got the album out now.
Yeah.
Ego Trip.
Yeah.
When did it drop?
So it was a month ago now. Yeah.
A month ago.
Yeah.
Bloody hell,
4 weeks. Yeah.
How's it been? So is this your first full project?
Yeah. So obviously, like before now, I've put out a few singles here and there. Put Tweet out a couple of years ago. Last year did Depend on Me. So it's always been like kind of drip feeding and then getting back to doing like what I do every day with everybody else. But this one, I've been working on it for like 5 years. Yeah. Well, I had been up to the point I put it out and just always getting sidetracked, working on other stuff. Yeah. Psyching myself out of doing it or whatever, but in the end, I just got to knuckle down and get it done,
So the previous tracks that you just mentioned, like Tweet and Depend on Me, you were already thinking about creating a full project, like an album.
It was always in the works.
Okay,
it's crazy. Like most of these songs, I had maybe 3-4 years ago.
Okay,
and they were all kind of there and because it's very thematic. And it's like of a particular time, that's the whole point of it. It's like a very, very themed record. Yeah. So I had all the ideas and all the songs are there in various forms. And you can imagine, like I produce and I mix records every day, right? When it's my own music, the perfectionism levels are just heavy.
so the levels of perfection under normal circumstances are high.
Yeah.
But now that
it's like, it's me and it fully represents who I am. Yeah. So that's part of the challenge of it. Like a hidden challenge of putting out my own record was like overcoming this, like, I don't know, this fear of not being perfect. Do you know what I mean? Like, and a bunch of other things. So that's the reason why it took so long. I could have finished it 3 years ago.
And how's that working for you?
I mean, honestly, as soon as I got it out, the floodgates opened. I started writing loads of new things.
Really?
It's been great, man. So
there was a little barrier, there was a block there. But as soon as you released it and it was out in the open.
Yeah, it's just all of a sudden, it's just you lighten up a bit more and you're less hard on yourself for not being perfect and which none of us are. It's an impossible goal. And instead, you kind of like get things to a level and you're like, all right, cool, I'm ready to share this now. Next thing,
Okay.
But that was a process.
Okay. So you said about the theme actually. So I'm glad you mentioned that there's a theme to this album.
Yeah.
So we just played F You Better.
Yeah.
And the name of the album is
Ego Trip. Yeah.
Let's talk about this theme.
Yeah.
What's this theme? What's the theme of this album?
Well, it's about getting lost in the sauce. And it's very, like, obviously for me, it's very specific to my journey and coming up and being really successful as a producer, and kind of getting lost in that and behaving out of character in order to try and, like, appease everybody and stuff.
That actually happened?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Not one lie is told on that.
Really?
There's some outrageous stuff on there, but it's all true, man.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I need to listen a bit more carefully then. Get the juice.
Yeah, no, for real. But so it's basically about that. It's like, it kind of starts, it's chronological as well. So it kind of starts with, you're young, you get kind of blinded by the bright lights of everything you're seeing on MTV Base and all the girls that you see dancing around and all this stuff. You know what I'm talking about.
I don't know. I told you I'm a
wholesome Christian.
I'm a Christian.
But now you get blinded by all of these things. But then luckily for you, you're talented enough and you're around people that are driven enough to start seeing all of these things actually happen. You start portraying this character that isn't really the real you, but you put this mask on and this veil in order to, like, live this rap star lifestyle, and then obviously you can't sustain that, you know, and then eventually you dip and the real you comes out, and you know there's a conflict.
But you weren't rapping; you were like behind the scenes. So
in my head, I was the artist, though.
Yeah, because
that's the thing.
People will treat you differently because they don't know who you are by face.
But that gives you a certain level of insecurity too, because you know, like especially if you've got these kind of hidden, you know, desires to be the guy on stage. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, look, I can't pretend that I didn't get caught up in all of that. And that's what the whole album's about, you know what I mean? So even though I'm behind the scenes and I'm like, you know, people, if you knew, you knew. You know, if you were a fan, you knew about what I was doing. But to the wider world, no one really knew who I was. But in my head, I'm like, I'm this guy, right?
For example, so Professor Green, so you worked with Professor Green. Yeah. And I'd imagine Professor Green gets a lot of attention and CORES not so much. Yeah. But you're behind the man.
Yeah, right. But then if you're not getting validated by that way, and you have those insecurities that are kind of dormant in you, that can affect you. Like, do you know what I mean? And even though it's not in a way that you don't want to support your friend and you don't want to see somebody succeed, but you're more like, man, what does this say about me? You know what I mean? And like, you feel like you're worth a lot more than that, and you feel like you're better than that. So you create this world in your mind where you're this guy. You start acting out a character in order to try and get that validation.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going, because you know what? When I listen to music, sometimes I'm thinking of stories, but I'm never thinking this is the person's actual story. Like, I don't ever think like that, and I probably should, because a lot of people write from experiences.
Yeah, well, no, not really, because that's not really what art is about. Art's never art.
Well, a lot of people do, don't they? They write from their own experiences.
Yeah, of course.
A story that they heard from somebody else.
But when you hear it, you're not thinking about me. You're thinking about you. You know what I'm saying? Like, can I relate? And that's what we do when we listen to artists. How can I listen to Beyonce and think, yeah, I feel you? Because
are you relating to Beyonce though?
No. But what I mean is like, you know, she's a woman. Those are women's experiences.
Single ladies, you relating?
But you're gonna listen to single ladies and you think, man, I like. You know what I mean? I hate being a single dude or whatever, and like, you know, you want to feel empowered. But you still think about it from your perspective always, and you put yourself in their shoes as an artist, even if...
I'm going to say, I don't always, I'm going to be honest. Maybe I'm just numb to it. Maybe I'm emotionless.
Too much music, man.
You know what? It happens. It really does happen.
Yeah,
I was saying to someone the other day, like, I can't sing along to any songs anymore.
Right.
So I don't get a chance to hear them enough.
Right,
Like, something in the 90s, 2000s, I'll sing along. Anything from like 2014, 15... I don't know.
But those are your formative years, so you have a different relationship with those songs.
Yeah,
you hear it.
Why do I remember that and I don't remember nothing from last year?
Yeah, because like it's a different marker in your life, innit? Like from back then, you were listening to it and you were growing as a teenager. It's related to all these other experiences around you, and you know, stuff that you hear now, you might appreciate it. Don't mean you're hating. You might appreciate it, but you're not going to have that same kind of relationship.
No, 100% appreciate it. I just don't know the lyrics.
Yeah, exactly. Because you don't relate in the same way, you know. And that's it's the same thing with this album for me. Like, I'm talking about stuff that happened when I was younger. Do you know what I mean? And it's like...
I remember, I think I might even tagged you in it when I saw it. You probably saw it yourself. Talking about Professor Green, it just jogged my memory. Yeah. That he was on One Extra. I can't remember who he was speaking with. I saw the post on Instagram. Yeah. And he was talking about you quite a lot. Yeah. Do you still have a relationship with Professor Green?
Nah, we don't. We don't speak, no.
Okay. But he still recognizes you as someone who's like very much involved in his...
Look, it is what it is. Like, we worked together for 15 years, man. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, there was maybe like a 4 or 5 year period of like proper success from that. But there was a whole decade prior to that of us, like, you know, performing to 5 people in Brighton in a tiny little room.
Really?
Like, do you know what I mean? And you're never gonna really see all of that. We grew up together. Do you know what I'm saying? Okay. So that's how we know each other. But then look, after all that time, right, you're gonna enter into an unhealthy dynamic. Where it's possible that you enter into an unhealthy dynamic. Obviously, from my perspective, I can only take responsibility for my actions. Yeah. So it's like, well, you know, I obviously wanted more than he was willing to let me be within that situation. I was never gonna be like the main act.
So this is go back to what we were saying earlier.
Okay. That's my part to play. Look, obviously, like, he did his stuff, right? And I have my feelings about all of that. But from my perspective, it's like, I didn't like playing second fiddle and kind of being kept in the back room while this guy's getting a light. I didn't like that. Now, rather than me being mad in that situation, I had to remove myself from it. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. So, because we did kind of touch on this before.
Yeah.
But then when I saw that video, I thought, maybe, things are just slightly different now. But you've just confirmed that maybe they're not. But let's go back to that. So, did you want to be, because I'm trying to get an idea of where you were at the time, because you just touched on it. I stick on things when I hear them. Did you want to have more of a Puff Daddy, Biggie type thing going on, where you were involved and you were on the stage and people saw you as an artist and as a star as well?
I think I did, but I didn't ever. It's funny because I never saw myself as a producer back in the day.
Okay.
I always,
even when you were producing.
Well, like when I was a kid, I only produced so I had a beat to rap on.
Got you. Okay, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I always considered myself an artist, but I didn't have the confidence to like take it where it needed to go, and I didn't know how much work I had to do on myself before I got to that point. Look, I'm 36 years old now, and I just put out my first album. Do you know what I'm saying? So it took a lot of work in order to get to a point where I'm like, this is actually what I want, and I could admit that. Yeah. So I inadvertently ended up, and he, obviously he saw that the talent, and I was willing to just share it. Yeah. So I gave it all away, and that you're gonna be frustrated internally with that kind of a thing,
But were you frustrated with him or with yourself?
No, it was with me, but then obviously like he took advantage of that. Yeah. I don't want to really get into all of that, but like it was taken advantage of. Okay. Right. So it takes two, but I can only remove myself from that situation and keep it moving.
Okay. So as you say, it's taken you a while for you to release this album. You had to get over certain hurdles and, deal with certain inner demons maybe. What is it that you had to overcome? Do you know, was there one single thing or was there...
It's so complicated.
Really?
I had to overcome my childhood. I had to overcome the fact that I'm a bit of a weirdo. Do you know what I mean?
But they're the best artists.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
If you were nurtured in a way that you're comfortable with that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And therefore you're confident. I watched something on Channel 4 yesterday. It's called Making a Murderer or something, right? It's about like killers and psychopaths and stuff.
Nice.
But no, there was one thing that one of the guys said, and he was like, your brain is different. He was talking to this guy. It's like your brain is different to like the average brain, right? You have a lack of fear. You have a lack of empathy. You have all of these things, right? I don't have that, but I'm that's what he had. Yeah. And he was saying, look, if you were nurtured in a way when you were young that gave you confidence in yourself, and then those things were then focused on positive things, you could have been somebody amazing. Like you could have been great. But because he was neglected, he left in a home and all of these things, that then turned into resentment and anger, and that lack of fear was then used to destructive, for destructive purposes. So like,
sense.
Do you know what I mean? So for me, like that's what it is. For me, it's like I had to overcome like me not feeling comfortable in my skin, which started very early in my life. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, that makes sense actually. So then you got over these certain barriers and hurdles, and you said, you know what, I'm going to take the plunge, I'm going to make this album. It took you 5 years to make, because the uncertainty and perfection and all the rest of it, it came to the point where it was done. How many times after you said, it's done, it's finished, did you say, actually, it's not finished?
It's never finished. But honestly, no art is ever finished, because sure as we change every day, the music's gonna change. Like, and you're gonna hear things differently. Like, oh, that should be like, I hear it now, and all I can hear is what I would do now. But that's me now. So at some point, you've got to date stamp it and be like, that represents this particular period in my life, and I have to be comfortable with that. And that also goes hand in hand with like, oh, I'm better now. I'm a better producer now. I'm a better writer now. I'm a better engineer than I was then. So there are all these other things that can always lead to it just being like a everlasting project. So I have to like consciously bookend it, be like, cool. And that was hard, man.
Yeah. But so looking at it now, is there anything you look back and think, actually, I wish I could take it back and do that again? Any tracks in there that you think, you know what, it's giving a little bit too much away?
No, I don't. I mean, look, you can hear what I'm talking about already here. Like
very freely,
I don't think you should ever stifle you. That's the burden that we bear as artists. You know what I mean? We go find all of this information and we share it with people. And you know what? It's good because I'm comfortable enough to not be embarrassed about any of that stuff anymore. So I can talk about it, you know.
And I'd imagine that was one of the things you had to overcome as well in terms of being an artist, just being able to speak freely and comfortably about your truth.
Yeah, right. And one of the things that I work with Merkish Dave a lot, you know, who's on that feature, and I also produce a lot of his records or exec produce his album and stuff. And one of the things he said was like, all I had to do was tell the truth, and it's mad. And because he put out a song called Car Bomb, where he's talking about all of his insecurities and everything, didn't think anything of it. Yeah. And then, like, you know, Pharrell played it on his Beats One show, and all of these mad things started to happen, and then the whole career kind of spawned off of that tune. Okay. And he was like, yeah, all I had to do was tell the truth. And honestly,
the truth will set you free.
Yeah. Back in the day, when I was in school, I remember trying to like write road raps.
Yeah.
What? Nothing would come. It was easy for me to write about girls, though. And I never really put two and two together. Like, you're more of an emotional dude. Like, whatever. And that's hard for a man to admit, you know? But it is what it is.
Talk about Merkish Dave.
Yeah.
When you released this single, the album came out, should I say?
Yeah.
It's around the same time that I saw him put out a tweet about his laptop.
Yeah.
Did he ever get that back?
Nah.
He didn't?
He didn't, no.
Out of order.
Yeah, it was so deep, man.
It's mad.
But, that's just one of those things, man. The world ain't a simple place to live in, innit? People just take opportunities.
It's what it is.
Especially when, you know, something's done with so much love.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that people ain't going to take advantage. It is what it is.
Okay. One of the tracks that you mentioned earlier, Depend on Me.
Yeah.
That's not on the album.
No. The reason being is, like I said, like the album, it's been brewing for like 5 years, but I felt Depend on Me was like after the experience on the album. So I put Tweet on the album, even though I put it out before.
That's right, yeah.
But that's part of the story. Tweet's part of the story. It's like when you're getting gassed and, about, like, you know, your newfound fame or whatever and this new attention that you're receiving. But it's Depend on Me is kind of like post. Like, I've been through all of that stuff now. Like, and now I'm trying to integrate myself back into real life and relationships or whatever. You know, so so I felt like it wasn't really appropriate for it.
How do you feel as a person? And with all this being said and the stuff that you've gone through and the insecurities that you had, CORES as a person, CORES as the human being, CORES as the guy that walks into Sainsbury's and picks up his loaf of King's Mill and whatever. Like, how do you feel?
What do you mean? Like,
do you feel comfortable in yourself? Do you feel that you're lacking something? Do you still?
I always feel like I'm lacking something.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you have insecurities still?
Of course. What you all do. Anyone who says.
I don't think I do.
Yeah, but then that's the thing. It's never conscious. You know, we always have these like things that we do every day in day-to-day life that like are coping strategies, but they're so normal to us. It feels like you're doing well. You know?
I think I do have insecurity. No, I think I have things that I would be insecure about, but I'm just so aware that I can't do nothing about it. I'm like, nah.
Well, that's good then. But I mean, unfortunately or fortunately, I'm not that way inclined.
I don't know if I'm lying to myself.
Yeah.
I have these
well, I mean, you don't. The thing is, you're never gonna know until you're in a situation where they become a barrier. And for me, like being a creative person and still working with a lot of other artists. It can trigger that.
Oh, but it still acts as a barrier. Like for me, like I'm always scared that I'm not going to be good enough.
Well, there you go. That's an insecurity.
But I'm aware of it. I'm like, nah, okay.
Yeah, but then imagine you were like, you know, but
it holds me back.
Yeah, right. So there you go. So it's a problem. So if you were then trying to do something, you know, in your day-to-day life, and you know, you've not managed to go over to the next level or whatever, your insecurities thing is holding you back. But you've just learned to cope with it by going, it don't matter. You see what I'm saying? What I guess all of this madness has happened to me has forced me to do is face all of these things and actually try to like do the things that I haven't done, even though like I'm like long in the tooth in the music game.
That's
you know,
the thing, innit? Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But it's like whatever, it doesn't matter. So you've got that to overcome as well. You're so old, no one cares about you anymore. Like, you know.
So do you not? Yeah, that's a good point. So do you not look at that and thinking, yeah, nobody cares?
But that's part of it. It's just like, it doesn't matter. Why am I like seeking validation from 21-year-olds?
Well,
you know,
you do need validation from somebody because you're an artist. So somebody's got to validate what you're doing and say, you know what, I co-sign this guy. You know, I'm supporting him.
Yeah,
I love what he's doing.
But there's never a reason to not make music, man. And I tell a lot of artists I work with this. Like, everybody's always got a reason. Oh, you know, my computer can't do this, or like I ain't got access to a studio.
What was the reason why not to?
Well, my reason why not to is I'm too old, I'm too long in the tooth. I'm a producer, I've got a successful career as a producer, I'm doing all right, people respect me, blah 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 blah. I had all these reasons to not do it, but it don't mean that void is gonna go though.
Yeah.
So eventually you just got to be like, I got to face all of these fears, and it's turmoil, man. So when you ask me how I am every day, like, I have good days, I have bad days. Do you know what I mean? I work on them, try consciously, like, why am I feeling like this about myself? What does that come from? How can I change my perspective on that, or like relearn what it means to have gone through that experience or whatever? And every time you have a bad time, then you see it as an opportunity to learn and grow a bit more. And that's the way I deal with it now.
Your understanding of this, is it come from you just growing up and maturing, or have you actually seen and spoken to people about this?
I go to therapy.
Do you still do?
I still do, as much as I can. I mean, I used to go every week when I was in a really bad place, but now it's like I'll go every
So now you're in a good space, and you still go to therapy.
On the whole, because there's always something to untuck. When you're like bringing all of these kind of unconscious behavioral patterns to the front of your mind, you're always gonna, like, you're very aware of all the things that are going on and all the time. So there's always gonna be something that sets you off. It makes you more sensitive to things. So I then go there and I kind of, what's your perspective on this? Or this is what's happening. And then she'll be like, well, why don't you think about it like that? And it seems really obvious, but you end up in cycles. Do you know what I'm saying?
True. So I don't want to go into the reasons why you went to therapy in the first place. But how long were you there for in this dark space?
I was going every week. So I mean, look, there was maybe a 2 or 3 year period where life was really black for me, man, like really bad. And I coped, but I didn't want to be here. Bro.
Really?
Do you know what I'm saying?
Like I didn't want to be here.
Yeah, I didn't want to, like, you know, all of these amazing things that happen, and from the outside, it's like, man, you've got these plaques, you've got this, and you've got that, and I was so depressed. I was just, you know, I didn't want to be here.
Did you ever take you're not wanting to be here to the next stage of trying to not be here?
Nah.
Okay.
There was, luckily for me, there was always a little glimmer of hope, always. And some people don't have that, and that's the point where people will take their own lives. Do you know what I'm saying? But I mean, I came close.
Really?
Like, I remember standing on a platform at a train station once. I had an argument with my friend or whatever, standing on the platform, and I was in a bad place anyway. And I saw this train coming. I saw it. It's like a goods train, one of them heavy things.
A good train?
No, a goods.
Mine's a good. That's the perfect train.
No, it's not a goods train. One with like.
Oh, a goods train.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not a good train. That would be a good one. No. I saw it coming, and I was thinking like. But then I thought, nah, there's more to do. There's more to do. And then I also thought, what about the driver though? And then I thought, what about
what about the commuters that can't get to work?
Then I thought about, what about my family? What about you know? And I'm lucky that I have all of those things to think about. Some people don't have that.
Facts,
So you know, it can get bleak. But thank God, made it through that. I have my dips, but it's mostly under control.
But you still continue the therapy. Is that just to help you through the day, or to prevent you from going back to that space?
No, I don't see it as a way of preventing me going back there. I see it as a fundamentally important part of life. Now,
Charlemagne on the Breakfast Club, he always says, you know, I encourage people to go for therapy.
Like, why are people so scared of discussing how you really feel with somebody who understands how to interpret that and gives you alternative ways of thinking about it? Why are people so afraid of that? Oh, but it's because of what it means about them, or it means that I'm not coping. That's part of the problem, though. You're just coping. You're not willing to sit down and be like, I'm finding this hard. You know, and when those things become barriers to stuff you want to do in your life, why not try and, like, it's hard though. You know what I mean? It's hard work. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. But it really helps, man.
Okay. So the album Ego Trip is available now. Where can people get hold of it?
People can get it everywhere where they stream stuff. You can also buy it on iTunes, obviously. I might put out a physical at some point.
Okay.
But let's see.
Okay.
But stream that and have a listen.
Sign a copy for me, please, if you get.
Of course, bro. But everything we've been discussing, like, it's the story of that process. You know what I mean? Like, how I got into it and what went down and how I got out. Like, it's that.
as you are now the artist, the star.
Nah.
Well, you are. Shows, performances. Are you involved in that? Are you doing those?
So next weekend we're doing with Adam
You
Deacon.
trying to tell me? Tell me.
Well, now you know. I'll send you the thing. But next weekend we're in fact, let me find the flyer. Damn, I didn't even think about it. It's crazy because you know what? The last time I performed was a long time ago. Like I used to perform all the time with Green, obviously. But then like the last time must have been maybe 5 years ago. I haven't done a show for that long. But yeah, so we're doing this show. It's where is it? It's a project in Romford, South Street in Romford.
What day is this?
And that's on Saturday.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, but we're gonna be there. Me, Adam Deacon, and Alpha David, who are on Tweet.
I'd love to be there, but you know where I am on a Saturday.
Yeah, I know where you are, bro. So I know you understand my record, man.
Right. So social media and all that good stuff.
Yeah. So find me at CORES Music, CORES Music, and that's on every social platform.
Wide is the gate, and
thank you, CORES.
Cheers, man.
Temptation.
You sharpen the human appetite to the point where it can